The legendary Prince of Darkness and pioneer of heavy metal, Ozzy Osbourne, is being remembered at 76. Few figures in rock history have left such a powerful mark as Ozzy. He wasn't just a music icon, he was a global legend, admired and loved by generations. Yet, in his later days, life for the man behind the myth seemed far quieter than many might imagine. Fame and infamy no longer defined him. Instead, his focus had shifted to something deeper, far more human. Instead, Ozzy's thoughts had turned to something deeply personal, a final wish that only his wife, Sharon, could help him fulfill. It wasn't just any wish, but one so meaningful that it defined his later days and brought him a rare sense of peace. If Ozzy Osbourne's legacy has ever made you laugh, think, or feel inspired, take a moment to show your support by liking this video and subscribing so you never miss more incredible stories. Drop a 1-inch the comments if Ozzy's music or journey has ever resonated with you, or a 0 if you see it differently. Now, let's dive into this heartfelt story and uncover what truly brought Ozzy a sense of peace in his final chapter. You can feel the history in the air. Those weren't just the words of one fan, they captured the collective feeling of everyone present at this once-in-a-lifetime event. Even those who had followed Ozzy Osbourne's journey from afar could sense that something truly extraordinary was unfolding, an evening that honored both the past and the future of rock. The international media quickly took notice, recognizing the unprecedented scale and emotional power of the celebration. With a star-studded lineup featuring some of the biggest names in rock and metal, a stadium filled with more than 40,000 devoted fans, and a worldwide audience reaching into the millions, the event became far more than a concert. It was a global tribute to a legend whose influence continues to shape music history. Even before Ozzy Osbourne's passing, tributes had already begun to echo across the world, a reflection not only of his monumental achievements, but also of his profound influence on rock and metal culture. Ozzy's image, both as an artist and as an enduring icon, had become a beacon for generations of musicians who followed in his footsteps. When news of his passing spread, his peers, those who had shared the stage, the struggles, and the glory with him, expressed deep sorrow and admiration. Tributes poured in from every corner of the industry, from close friends to some of the biggest names in music, all acknowledging how Ozzy's creativity, spirit, and fearless authenticity had shaped their own paths. Without question, the legend of Ozzy Osbourne will live on forever, a voice, a vision, and a legacy that continues to inspire the world of music. Musicians, collaborators, and industry figures alike understood the magnitude of Ozzy Osbourne's impact. His career had spanned decades of brilliance, evolution, and raw authenticity, a legacy that reshaped the sound of modern music. As his time on stage and in life drew to a close, an unmistakable sense of loss rippled through the global music community. Artists and fans everywhere recognized that the world was preparing to say goodbye to more than just a performer. Ozzy Osbourne was not only a remarkable artist, he was a cultural force who transformed rock and metal forever, leaving behind an influence so vast that it can never truly fade. Sir Elton John, one of Ozzy Osbourne's closest friends, was among the first to publicly share his emotions after the news broke. In his heartfelt tribute, Elton expressed, "He was a dear friend and a great pioneer who cemented his place in the pantheon of rock gods, a true legend." His words reflected not only deep admiration, but also recognition of the extraordinary legacy Ozzy carved into the fabric of music history. His passing marked a profound loss not only for his family and friends, but for the entire global music community he helped shape. What are your thoughts on the legendary legacy of Ozzy Osbourne and the impact he's had on the world of rock? Share your reflections in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay connected with more powerful stories about the icons who changed music forever. He was also one of the funniest people I've ever met. I will miss him dearly. These heartfelt words from Sir Rod Stewart captured not only the grief of a close friend, but also the deep admiration and affection shared by those who knew Ozzy Osbourne personally. To those who worked alongside him, Ozzy was more than a music legend. He was warm, approachable, and endlessly full of laughter. Rod Stewart, a longtime companion in the world of rock, offered a touching farewell that resonated with millions. "Farewell, Ozzy. Sleep well, my friend. See you on the other side." His words were more than a tribute. They were the heartfelt goodbye of a friend bidding farewell to a kindred spirit, a final salute to a man whose light will never fade from the world of music. The sense of loss extended far beyond Rod Stewart. Artists across every genre came forward to honor Ozzy Osbourne's extraordinary influence on their lives and careers. Among them was Ronnie Wood of the Rolling Stones, who described Ozzy as a true legend of Birmingham, not only in music, but in shaping the city's entire cultural identity. Wood praised Ozzy's unique ability to create, inspire, and define the sound that continues to shape generations today. His words echoed the sentiment shared by countless musicians, that Ozzy's legacy was not only measured by his songs, but by the culture he built and the paths he opened for those who followed. Ozzy Osbourne left an indelible mark not just on the hearts of fans, but on his peers, his friends, and the very soul of music itself. Metallica, one of the bands that performed at the Villa Park concert, paid tribute to Ozzy Osbourne in a way that was simple yet profoundly moving. The band shared a photo of themselves with Ozzy, accompanied by a single broken heart emoji, a small gesture that spoke volumes. Though understated, the post resonated deeply with millions of fans around the world, symbolizing both sorrow and immense respect for a true pioneer. For a band as monumental as Metallica, that image was more than a farewell. It was an acknowledgement of the man who helped shape the very foundation of rock and metal. In that single post, they captured what words could not: the gratitude, reverence, and everlasting legacy of Ozzy Osbourne, the artist who changed the sound of music forever. Ozzy Osbourne, through his monumental contributions, was far more than a famous name. He was a living embodiment of rock itself. For over 5 decades, he poured his soul into his craft, shaping and expanding a genre that would go on to influence the entire world. The heartfelt tributes from Metallica and countless other artists stand as a testament to his pioneering spirit and enduring impact on the music industry. His voice, his vision, and his fearless creativity transformed generations and will continue to inspire those yet to come. Though Ozzy may no longer walk among us, his legacy written in sound, spirit, and the hearts of millions will echo through time, forever immortalizing the Prince of Darkness as one of the greatest legends to ever grace the stage. Ozzy Osbourne's collaborations spanned generations, from legendary rock pioneers to modern metal innovators, proving that his influence reached far beyond music itself and into the very fabric of popular culture. Every generation of artists bears his unmistakable mark, that of a visionary who redefined what rock and metal could be. In his final weeks, the outpouring of love from fans and the global music community was not only an expression of grief, but also a collective acknowledgement that they were witnessing the closing of a monumental chapter in music history. Though the industry mourned his loss, it also stood in reverence, recognizing the immeasurable impact of a man whose art, spirit, and defiance reshaped the world of music forever. In interviews, Sharon Osbourne revealed that Ozzy had confided in her something deeply personal, a final request she vowed to fulfill. "He wanted me to do something for him that only I could do," she shared, though she chose not to disclose the details. Her words underscored just how profound her role was during Ozzy's final weeks. Sharon wasn't only his caregiver, she was the one entrusted with honoring his most personal wish, a promise rooted in love, trust, and a bond that had carried them through every chapter of their lives together. Friends and family later shared that Sharon Osbourne remained remarkably focused during this time, quietly working behind the scenes and mobilizing every resource to ensure that Ozzy's final wishes were honored exactly as he had hoped. Even in the face of heartbreak, Sharon showed extraordinary strength caring for Ozzy, not just physically, but emotionally, with unwavering devotion. Her actions in those final days reflected more than duty or love. They revealed a profound partnership built on decades of trust, sacrifice, and understanding. What Sharon embodied was the essence of their bond, not simply the connection between husband and wife, but the unity of a family bound together by love and shared spirit. In the final days of Ozzy Osbourne's life, the Osbourne family gathered closely around their beloved father. His children, Kelly, Jack, Amy, and his two older children, Jessica and Louis, visited often, aware of how precious those moments truly were. These were sacred days, filled with tenderness and gratitude, as the entire family came together to share love, laughter, and quiet reflection. The man who had once opened the doors of his chaotic home to the world through the Osbournes was now surrounded by peace and privacy, embraced by the people who knew him best. In those final moments, what remained was not fame or noise, but the pure, unwavering love of a family honoring the husband and father who had given them everything. Publicly, very few people knew what was unfolding behind closed doors. To the outside world, Ozzy Osbourne appeared as a man whose health had visibly declined, a legend enduring the final challenges of his life. But what the world didn't see were the quiet preparations, the deeply personal conversations, and the immense emotional weight that Sharon carried as she faced what would become the most defining moment in Ozzy's final chapter. This was never a story about fame, fortune, or headlines. It wasn't the spectacle the media sought to capture. At its heart, this was a story of love, of sacrifice, devotion, and the quiet courage of a woman preparing to say goodbye to the man who had been her world. The way Ozzy Osbourne chose to leave this world stayed true to the man he had always been: resilient, defiant, and larger than life. No one understood that better than Sharon, who had walked beside him through every trial and triumph. Ozzy never wanted to be remembered as the man defined by Parkinson's, nor as a figure confined by weakness or frailty. For his final act, he wished only to live and to depart as the Prince of Darkness, a symbol of strength, rebellion, and an unbreakable spirit. It wasn't merely a request. It was a message, a lasting imprint he wanted etched into the hearts of his fans and loved ones, reminding them that true legends never fade. They simply transcend. Though Sharon Osbourne kept the details of Ozzy's final wish private, she made one thing unmistakably clear: she would stop at nothing to see it fulfilled. She vowed to ensure that Ozzy's farewell reflected the strength and dignity he had embodied throughout his life, not as a man diminished by illness, but as a legend who stood tall, proud, and free until the very end. Her devotion spoke volumes, revealing a love so profound that it transcended care and comfort. In the end, Sharon's promise became a final act of respect, a testament to the truth that the greatest expression of love is not only tending to a person's needs, but honoring the spirit, pride, and legacy they built across a lifetime. In a heartbreaking revelation, Ozzy Osbourne's final wish was not to fade quietly from the spotlight, but to return to the place where it all began, Birmingham, for one last performance. It was a wish both profound and deeply personal, born not only from his love of music, but from his desire to reconnect with his roots, with the city that had shaped the man and the legend. Sharon, who had stood beside him through every chapter of his life, later shared that in his final weeks, Ozzy longed for nothing more than to stand on stage in his hometown one last time. This wish was more than a farewell to his career. It was a final embrace, a moment to honor his journey, his friends, his loyal fans, and everyone who had walked beside him through a lifetime of sound, struggle, and triumph. Surrounded by his bandmates and the devoted fans who had defined his journey, Ozzy Osbourne longed to feel their warmth and love one last time. This wasn't just another concert, it was a celebration of everything he had given to music and to the global rock community. Sharon knew that fulfilling this wish would be anything but simple, yet she also understood that this was how Ozzy wanted his story to end, not in silence, but in song. It was to be a farewell filled with meaning, closure, and the unmistakable authenticity that had always defined who he was. The Prince of Darkness taking his final bow on his own terms. On July 5, 2025, Ozzy Osbourne's final wish became a reality. Sharon Osbourne organized a monumental concert titled Back to the Beginning at Villa Park, transforming the home stadium of Aston Villa Football Club into sacred ground for heavy metal. The event was more than just a tribute to Ozzy's legendary career, it was a moment of pure history. For the first time in 20 years, Ozzy was reunited on stage with his Black Sabbath bandmates Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, in what became an unforgettable night of emotion, unity, and farewell. It wasn't merely a reunion after decades apart. It was a final song shared by the men who had forged the sound of rock itself, a closing chapter worthy of the legend they had created together. The July 5th event at Villa Park, later remembered as Ozzy Osbourne's final performance, sent waves of admiration and emotion through the global music community. More than 40,000 fans filled the stadium to capacity, while millions more joined through live streams around the world. It was a night of extraordinary power, a once-in-a-lifetime experience that transcended music itself. With every note and every lyric, Ozzy and his Black Sabbath bandmates reignited the spirit of an era, reliving the raw energy and emotion that had defined generations. That performance didn't just celebrate a career, it carved a permanent place in rock history. A final, unforgettable chapter written by one of the greatest legends to ever take the stage. Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Slayer, and Anthrax all took the stage as supporting acts, paying powerful tribute to Ozzy Osbourne, the man who had shaped the very foundation of heavy metal. These weren't just fellow musicians, they were disciples of a legend, artists whose own journeys had been deeply influenced by Ozzy's groundbreaking career. Together, they created an atmosphere charged with emotion, where every riff and lyric became an offering of gratitude to the icon who made it all possible. The only place we could do this is Aston, because that's where Ozzy was born and raised, Sharon Osbourne shared. Her words weren't just an introduction to the venue, they were a heartfelt acknowledgement of Ozzy's lifelong connection to his hometown, the city that gave birth to both the man and the music that changed the world. Sharon Osbourne later revealed that from the very beginning of planning the concert, her vision was to bring together every band and artist Ozzy had ever collaborated with, inviting them to perform the iconic songs of Black Sabbath and his legendary solo career. It became a music festival, Sharon explained, emphasizing how much this performance meant not only to Ozzy but to the entire global metal community. What began as a farewell concert evolved into something far greater, a celebration of musical history itself. On that night, artists united in a powerful festival of sound, honoring the man who had inspired them all and reaffirming the enduring legacy of a true legend. When Ozzy Osbourne appeared, seated on a black throne at the center of the stage, the roar from the crowd was deafening. For many, that sight was unforgettable. A man whose body had endured the toll of illness, yet whose spirit towered above it all. In that moment, Ozzy embodied everything he had ever represented: strength, defiance, and the eternal fire of rock and roll. He sat there like a true king of metal, a living legend whose presence radiated power and vulnerability all at once. The audience didn't just see an artist, they witnessed a myth made real before their eyes. And when Ozzy finally spoke, his voice trembling with emotion as he said, "Mum, I'm home," the crowd fell silent. No one knew it then, but this would be the final homecoming, the last time the Prince of Darkness would stand before his people in the city where it had all begun. After that powerful moment, Ozzy Osbourne summoned his trademark energy and launched into the unmistakable opening of Crazy Train. In that instant, music became more than performance, it was life itself, the breath that kept his spirit burning. "You have no idea how I feel. Thank you from the bottom of my heart," he told the crowd, his voice breaking with gratitude. The response was overwhelming, thunderous applause and cheers from more than 40,000 fans packed inside Villa Park. This wasn't just a concert, it was a celebration of love, respect, and eternal admiration for a man who had given everything to his art. Though his body had grown frail, Ozzy's spirit roared louder than ever, proving that true legends never fade, they live forever in the hearts of those who believe in them. Black Sabbath's setlist that night paid tribute to their earliest and most iconic works, the songs that defined not only their career but an entire era of rock history: War Pigs, Iron Man, and Paranoid. These weren't just tracks, they were anthems woven into the fabric of musical heritage, echoing through generations. Though the performance was brief, it carried the weight of a lifetime, a poignant sense of closure where every chord, every lyric recalled the incredible journey the band had shared. As fireworks illuminated the night sky above Villa Park, the moment became almost otherworldly, a fittingly grand and emotional farewell. When the band took their final bow, it wasn't just the end of a concert. It was the culmination of over 50 years of passion, rebellion, and brotherhood, a celebration of memory, music, and enduring love. Although the concert was officially held as a charity fundraiser, raising an astonishing $189 million, its true purpose was far more intimate. For Ozzy Osbourne, this night wasn't just a celebration of an extraordinary career. It was a deeply personal expression of gratitude to everyone who had walked beside him through the decades. Beyond the thunderous applause and global admiration, the concert became something profoundly human, Ozzy's final journey through music, a heartfelt farewell to the stage that had defined his life. It was his way of saying thank you one last time to the fans, the friends, and the family who had given his story meaning. This was Ozzy Osbourne's farewell, the final wish he had carried in his heart through his later years. He had long known that his time was limited, yet instead of surrendering to fear or despair, that knowledge only strengthened his resolve to fulfill his greatest dream, to say goodbye exactly as he had lived through music. He didn't want to fade quietly into the shadows of illness. He wanted to go out under the lights, surrounded by the sound of guitars, drums, and the voices of the fans who had shared every triumph and every fall. This was the wish he had entrusted to Sharon, his life partner and steadfast companion through every storm. All he wanted was one final performance, one last bow on the very stage where it had all begun, in the city that had shaped both the man and the legend. Sharon Osbourne brought Ozzy home surrounded by the people, the memories, and the music that had shaped his entire life. In that profoundly emotional moment, she tearfully shared, "He wanted me to remind him of his true self." Those words captured not only her enduring love, but the sacred promise she had kept, ensuring that Ozzy's final moments were filled with honor, dignity, and the essence of who he truly was. The man who had devoted his life to sharing music and emotion with the world had finally returned to his roots, to the city, the sound, and the spirit where it had all begun. In every way, it was a perfect farewell, the closing of a monumental era in rock history, and the final chapter in the life of a legend whose light will never fade. On the 22nd of July 2025, just 17 days after his final performance, Ozzy Osbourne passed away at the age of 76. His family confirmed the news in a heartfelt statement that moved millions around the world. The loss was immeasurable, not only for those closest to him, but for the entire music community, as one of rock's greatest legends took his final bow. Yet, Ozzy's spirit endures in the timeless melodies he created, the generations he inspired, and the memories that continue to echo in the hearts of fans everywhere. Though the stage has fallen silent, his voice, his energy, and his legacy will live on forever immortal in the rhythm of rock and the soul of music itself. With immeasurable sadness, the Osbourne family shared the heartbreaking news that their beloved Ozzy Osbourne passed away peacefully this morning. Surrounded by his family and boundless love, he returned home one final time. His passing leaves a void that can never be filled, yet the love and legacy he leaves behind will endure forever. Tributes have poured in from every corner of the world, from devoted fans to fellow musicians, each message reflecting the profound respect, admiration, and affection felt for a man who changed music forever. Though the world mourns his loss, Ozzy's spirit remains eternal, a legend whose light will never fade, and whose voice will forever echo through the heart of rock and roll. Ronnie Wood, guitarist of the Rolling Stones, described Ozzy Osbourne as the undefeated king of heavy metal, a fitting tribute to a man who reshaped the very face of the genre. Sir Elton John, one of Ozzy's closest friends, was visibly emotional as he called him a true legend and a friend I will always cherish. Their words reflected the deep admiration and love shared by some of the greatest artists in music, for Ozzy was not only a pioneer, but also a loyal, sincere friend to all who knew him. Tony Iommi, Ozzy's Black Sabbath bandmate and lifelong friend, expressed his grief with heartbreaking disbelief, saying, "I can't believe it." "My dear friend Ozzy passed away just weeks after our show at Villa Park," wrote Tony Iommi. "This is heartbreaking, and I can't express it in words. No one will ever be like him. Geezer, Bill, and I have lost our brother." His words carried the weight of a lifetime of friendship and shared history. Ozzy's passing forever changed the meaning of that unforgettable night at Villa Park. What had once been celebrated as a grand reunion of rock's greatest icons became, in hindsight, a final farewell. The concert, once a triumphant chapter in music history, transformed into something even more profound, a heartfelt goodbye from the brothers who had stood beside him at the dawn of heavy metal, closing together the golden pages of a legend's story. It was more than a charity concert or a long-awaited reunion. It was the final chapter in an extraordinary life. That night became a defining moment in music history, when Ozzy Osbourne not only said goodbye to his fans, but also to the city and the legacy he had built over more than half a century. His final wish had come true, a farewell that was deeply personal, profoundly emotional, and unmistakably his. And behind it all stood Sharon, his lifelong partner, who had weathered every storm by his side. Through her love and unwavering devotion, she made sure that Ozzy's wish was fulfilled, allowing him to take his final bow with honor, dignity, and the boundless love of those who had always believed in him. Ozzy Osbourne is survived by his beloved wife, Sharon, their children Kelly, Jack, and Amy, as well as Jessica and Louis from his first marriage. He also leaves behind several grandchildren who will carry forward his legacy with pride. Though Ozzy may be gone, his spirit and the music he created will continue to live through his family and in the hearts of those who loved him. He devoted his entire life to his art, giving the world a sound and a spirit that can never be replaced. For generations to come, Ozzy Osbourne will be remembered not only as the Prince of Darkness, but as an immortal legend whose voice defined the very soul of rock and heavy metal. Ozzy Osbourne's music, his influence, and his unforgettable final performance in Birmingham will forever be etched into the pages of music history. It was a breathtaking moment, a triumphant farewell that only Ozzy could deliver. Do you believe this was the perfect way for the legendary singer to close the final chapter of his extraordinary life? If Ozzy Osbourne's story has inspired or moved you, drop a 1 the comments or a 0 if you see it differently. We'd love to hear your thoughts below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss more fascinating stories about the icons who changed the world. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.